now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Rev Nathaniel W Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
All right, thank you, Brother Blackwell. My name is Rev Nathaniel W Martin, a pastor of New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles, California, where we're still battling, as most of you are across the country, with the effects of the coronavirus quarantine, the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we're praying God's blessing upon you and yours and upon your family and upon your activities, that God may bless you to not only survive but to thrive and to prosper in spite of these grim conditions. As I said, I'm the pastor of New Life Institutional Baptist Church. We are located at 8916 South Main Street here in the city of Los Angeles. We're sharing the building. We're blessed to worship with the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church, of whom the Reverend Dr. Della F. Hollins is my good friend. And as they say, when the Baptists and the Charismatics get together, there's always going to be a shouting in the camp. My brothers and my sisters, we are in historic times, and we can't help but rejoice at the political prospects, at the political challenges, the political opportunities that are standing on the horizon at this moment, with the nomination of Joe Biden and with the nomination of Kamala Harris to be his vice president. It's a wonderful time, and yet it recalls us back to be a little bit more sober in our elation. We don't want to spend all our time in celebration, because that's how you lose the game. So we want to stay focused and stay alert and stay involved, and remember that politicians don't do anything if you don't push them. We only have to remember what Franklin Delano Roosevelt told A. Philip Randolph, who was the head and president of the Pullman Porters, Sleeping Car Porters Union at that time. He told him, "You're right, but now go out and make me do it." I remember one of the things we failed to do during the 8 years of the Barack Obama presidency was give him a platform by which he too could say, "They made me do it." We didn't push it, and we must not make that same mistake going forward. You must always have an agenda. You must always have demands. You must always make those demands known, and you must always hold the politician's foot and feet and body to the fire. Is that all right? This offering, this presentation that you're looking at, centers and is involved, of course, with the need for social justice. And one of the great social justice needs or issues of our time, of course, is reparations for slavery, reparations for Jim Crow, reparations for the 100 years following the 1863 Emancipation Proclamation that declared black people free, Negroes formerly enslaved, I prefer that term, to be free, but yet we were given nothing for that freedom. The 40 acres and a mule that is often trumpeted, of course, was taken back, and as a result, the formerly enslaved found themselves with nothing. They were freedom, as Dr. King so eloquently stated it. They were free to hunger, free to starve, free to shiver in the colds of winter, free to swelter in the heat of the summer, with no credit, with no job opportunities, most of them with nowhere to live, nowhere to stay. Some of them with only the clothes upon their backs, but yet they were declared free. And so you can see a parallel to that in how the prisoners are released from prison almost in the same condition. And so there is a great need, there's a great move, there's a great force afoot to force the reconsideration to get to the redress and a remedy for that failure on the part, yes, of the United States government. It must be the Congress of the United States must write the bill, must write the law that authorizes not only the recognition of a need for reparation, but then begins the arduous process. I don't say it's going to be easy to figure out and to find ways by which these reparations can be effectively and honestly distributed and shared with the people of the United States who are the descendants of those formerly enslaved here in the United States. I don't speak of any other country, whether it be the West Indies or the Caribbean or the Jamaicas or Belize or anywhere like that, because they had their own country. They all put in their own various, several, and sundry requests, not to mention the fact that in many of those aforementioned countries, they have tacit agreements with the United States of America whereby they have received largesse and have received various blandishments, I would use that word, that people like myself who are actually born here in this country and look like me were denied. Remember, if you had you could put a turban on your head and you could be blacker than I am, or you'd be accepted by the white people. And if you spoke with an accent, then quite naturally you got a different reception when you came before the white power structure. It's no secret. It's very, very open. And for those and many other reasons, I do not include those societies or those countries in our reparations demands, and I don't feel that they should protest or object, and neither do I feel that they should share. Okay, our scripture for our reparations discussion is in Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 15, beginning at Deuteronomy chapter 15, beginning at verse 12, in case I messed that up. It says, "And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him or her go free from thee. And," that's the conjunction, "when thou sendest him or her out free from thee, thou shalt not let them go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him or her liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress, of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him or unto them." Notice it was not to be a loan, it was not to be leased, it was not to be a rental agreement. They were to give. That means with no expectation of a return. Is that what it says? It says definitely that. And it says, "Thou shalt furnish liberally." God knows that conservatives hate the word liberal, because God used it in his commandment, or in his declaration, or in his instruction to the children of Israel for how they were to treat slaves. And you can see by that, of course, that this has no resemblance to the way chattel slavery was practiced here in the United States of America. Chattel slavery in America was like the sadism of the Marquis de Sade. It was refined cruelty. Refined cruelty. Cruelty, by the time slavery reached America, it had been refined. And so you can't hide behind the fact that the Bible sanctions slavery. It may have, but it didn't sanction chattel slavery as it was practiced here in the 13 colonies. Remember that originally all 13 colonies, save one, and I think that was Rhode Island, practiced slavery and had slaves in their midst. In other words, it wasn't just a condoning or a permitting, but it was an actual process of practicing slavery. And so we have come from there to 2020, and yet the vestiges, the legacy, as the man said in his book, Stolen Legacy. I got that book at the house. Got to bring it here and show you the author, Stolen Legacy. The effects, although we're in modern technological time, but the effects of being penalized and being brutalized and dehumanized for those 250 years and then for another 100 years still have left their indelible mark. The very coronavirus pandemic itself reminds us of the legacy of slavery, when the enslaved and after that the disfranchised were denied good health care, denied housing, denied good jobs, and denied good education and a fair education, denied an equal education. I think Kamala Harris is a testimony to that, because she was one of the first classes following the Brown v. Board and the decision that was allowed to attend an integrated school. And that education that she received there from those, from being exposed, in other words, has stood her in good stead. As you look at her record, she's done great things. I want to look at the first. She became a DA in San Francisco, Alameda County District Attorney's Office, and she became the first female District Attorney of San Francisco. She was the first black woman elected as a DA in California, and the first Indian woman to hold the job in the country. So all of that you can trace back to having the access and the opportunity to take advantage of the opportunity to have access to a good education. And so what I was going to say originally was about in the medical area of this pandemic, the huge disparity between the larger percentage of the black and the Mexican demographics. The COVID virus hits us harder because we had what you call pre-existing conditions, which is what the insurance people hate to insure. They do not want to insure pre-existing conditions. Remember, at one time, being a woman was considered a pre-existing condition, and you charge more for your insurance, more for your health care, because you were how absurd it sounds, but it was considered a condition. Be that as it may, you and I are asked and are demanded to be alert going forward as we move on into the political vortex, that we be not just swept along, but that people of my hue, people of my color, don't get left behind, because there's going to be a great deal of huzzas and hurrahs and the like. But we must recognize that there are still class barriers and caste barriers among our own people and among our own nation state, sadly. that are as vicious as the practice of racism. I say vicious because there's no law against class bias or caste bias. And remember, in Ms. Harris's background of being from a descendant of the people who were from India, that they practice this caste system and they have what they call Dalits. That means they have people in their culture that they consider untouchable, and they don't even allow those people to participate. Don't forget that Gandhi himself was a very rabid bigot against a certain caste there in India. And so you have to keep your eyes open that you don't get caught up in the shell game. And while we rejoice in what it looks like is going to include all of us, that we remember that if we want to be included, we must put ourselves forward to be included. And not forget that any district attorney in any county, state, or city, they made their reputations on how many people they put in jail, how many people they got in prison. And that's going to be a problem that the Democratic Party must confront, especially in the case of Ms. Harris, looking back on her problems in the prosecution of Kevin Cooper, who she denied the DNA test, but when Gavin Newsom became governor, he did go ahead and sign the paper that would allow Kevin Cooper to have the DNA test that might prove his guilt or innocence in the case for which he received a capital sentence. Remember, the capital punishment was primarily reserved for, shall I say it? Yes, us Negroes, us black people, us colored people. We are disproportionately condemned and assigned to death row. And so I make all of these things so that when you go into this election, you go into it open-eyed. Don't go in there thinking that she's in my corner. She doesn't really look like me. So, you know. But what I'm saying, she says she's black. And at the same time, she says she's Indian. And then she's very light-skinned, very light-hued. And so you have to read between the lines and not drink Kool-Aid. Stay on the battlefield, stay engaged, stay politically alert, and make your demands. You must make, just because I look like you don't mean you can't make demands on me. You got to make demands. You just can't sit back and say, well, I know Martin's going to do right because he look like me. No. You must make demands. Otherwise, you'll be scratching your head and digging in your, you know what, wondering why in the world things didn't work out. So don't do that. Don't do that. This is the economy. This is a country built on capitalism. It's an economic juggernaut. And the people who are already on top are not going to relinquish any of their privileges without a demand, whether they be black or white or Mexican or anybody else. You must make your demands of those whom you have entrusted with the privilege of being a leader or being an elected official or a representative, especially when it comes to the highest representative of this republic. Never forget that this is a republic. The republic for which it stands, as stated in the Pledge of Allegiance. This is a republic. That means I don't go up to Washington, but I have a representative to go up for me. That's what we mean by a Republican form of government. And what we mean by a democratic form of government is that the power rests in me. It is government of the people, by the people, for the people. So you, the people, I, the people, must speak up to those people whom we have sent to represent us in the higher offices. And While I'm talking about that, this electoral college still needs to be gotten rid of. That's a vestige from slavery. It should have went out with the Emancipation Proclamation, but no, they held on to it. I wonder why. Because of the fact that it gives representation, an extra opportunity for those who represent the people who elected them. Give you an example. Let's see, you have in the Democratic Party, they have what you call superdelegates. Okay, now superdelegates claim that they're not bound by the results of the election to go into the electoral college room and do what I, outside in the popular vote, told them to do. Remember, Hillary Clinton lost by 3 million. She won by 3 million popular votes, but yet she lost in the electoral college. We need to get rid of that electoral college because it is a vestige held over that gave an advantage to the slaveocracy in the South, who did not feel that they had as much white representation in the Union. So in a collaboration between the Northerners and the Southerners, they came up with this what you call 3/5 clause. Because remember, the Southerners originally said that the slave was not a human being, was not a person, could not be counted. Who am I reading? Jefferson Davis himself. Well, who wasn't, of course. Let's skip Jefferson Davis because he was not in the formation of the Declaration of Independence nor of the Constitution. But I miss him because his mindset was informing Thomas Jefferson, and the ilk that was working on the Constitution. And what I'm trying to get around to get my mouth to finally say is that they did not consider the slave to be a human being. They did not consider the slave to be a person within the dictates of what was included, what was meant when they talked about we hold these truths to be self-evident that all people. Wow. But anyway, they had to eventually come around to fulfilling that aspiration, that ideal that was embodied, that all people are created equal and that they are endowed by their creator with inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which when they wrote that, they were meaning that all people, nobody is a king, and nobody is a regent, nobody is a ruler. We're all on the same level. And as Abraham Lincoln was known to rant in his day, if you keep on saying we the people, you're going to soon say we mean all people except, and that's where the cognitive dissonance in the United States of America obtained, or in the 13 colonies are obtained, or in the Union obtained, that all people were not considered to be people. Remember that the Negro was with the crocodile, was put down with the crocodile, equal with the crocodile. And as a matter of fact, there's some tragic examples where demented white folks went fishing with the bodies of black babies used as bait to that's true, it was done. And so we've had a long rough battle to get to where we are, and as John Lewis said, you can't tell me we haven't come a long way. If you don't think we made progress, just ask me, I can tell you we come a mighty long way. But absent the elimination of implicit bias in the medical field, in the healthcare field, in the public health, and the elimination of the implicit bias in the educational field, we've made great strides in housing. You can't say that we haven't, although you notice that the price that you pay for a house, meaning a black person pays for a house, and the annual percentage rate is some percentage points higher than if a white person 5 minutes? All right. Pay for that same house. I do not meant to throw shade on Ms. Harris. I just want us to be open-eyed, because the same thing can be said for Joe Biden and his opposition to forced busing. But then a lot of black people were opposed to forced busing. But you must also remember that the first people who were bused were black people. We were always bused past the white school. I was bused past Waltrip Elementary and Lusinger Elementary, and I was always bused all the way out to first to 6th Ward to Harper Elementary, and then after that I was bused over to Doris Miller, and after that I was bused from my house all the way out to Studewood Heights to attend school at Booker T. Washington, when I had to pass 2 or 3 different high schools on my way. So we've always been bused. It was only when it was time to put the white folks on the bus to bring them into the black schools to begin to have equality and equanimity, that the opposition to busing began to rear its ugly head. Don't ever forget that. We've always been bused. We were bused right past high school in the neighborhood because of white school, and we were bused over to where we were. And as it was in the school, so it was in the church, whether you were Catholic, Methodist, Baptist, or what have you, Episcopal, Presbyterian, it made no difference. You went to the black church. Now, let us not stop praying for our doctors, our nurses, our phlebotomists, our anesthesiologists, our medical technicians, our medical personnel who are working in the healthcare field, who are helping to battle back against this coronavirus epidemic. And we must thank God for them and pray for them at every hospital, every clinic, every first aid station, that they will get the grace and the strength and the help and the pay and the support and the supplies, the PPE and everything that they need to overcome this grim, somber, grave illness, this plague that God has sent upon us, that we call the coronavirus. And I say, yes, we must pray, because until we all pray, I don't think nothing's going to happen. God said, if my people, that means me, you, and every other Christian, so-called or not, would humble themselves and pray. You don't have to be a Christian to pray. Jesus was not a Christian. Help me, somebody going to get mad at that one. But the fact remains that Jesus was not a Christian. That we were first called Christians at Antioch, and it was just a label that was put upon the people that followed the teachings of Jesus. Is that right? Amen? But prayer is what is demanded. And so if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves, what? Humble, number 1. Pray, number 2. Seek, number 3. Seek my face. 4. Turn from their wicked ways. Then God has a series of 3 steps that he will do. He said, first, I will hear. Right now, God ain't listening to you. Ain't nobody praying. Remember, Isaiah 59 and 1 says, God says, behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot hear, that it cannot help, neither is his ear heavy, that it cannot hear. But what? Your iniquities have separated between you and your God, and your sins have what? Hid his face from you, that he will not hear. So you need to turn back, you need to humble, you need to pray, you need to seek, you need to turn from your wicked ways. Yes, your wicked ways, and turn back unto God, that he may hear from heaven and forgive our sin, because till that sin is forgiven, there will be no healing of the land. You can't expect Donald Trump to pray, because he ain't no praying man. You can't expect these politicians to pray, because they throw God out the Congress and the Senate and the state housing. Really, come to think about it, they throw them out of our conventions, our associations, and some of them have thrown them out of our churches. So you have got to pray. You can't depend on this other group to pray for you. You got to be on your knees in prayer, my brothers and my sisters. And as I wrap up, closing out, keep in prayer. And I say again to those of you that are working on jobs, thank God that you're working, and I pray the best for you. But always remember, if you're working on a job and you ain't making enough money to pay your rent, you're not getting enough money to go to the store and buy the things you need and still have a little money to put in the bank. If those folks ain't paying you what you need to do, get you a side hustle, get you a side job, and as quick as you can, stop working for them. God bless you. May God keep you. All right, Doc, thank you so much.
I ask the question, Lord, why?